Hi guys, it's Flo with a new video. Welcome back. In this video I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience of having a rigid inflatable boat compared to my experience with having a fully rigid traditional fiberglass boat. My dad bought the rigid inflatable boat when I was 10 years old back in 2011, when I really grew old with it. We were on there the whole summer, been on some good rides, even took it down to the Mediterranean. So it was a really fun experience. I've grown old with loads of good memories of my boat. Fast forward, on my 18th birthday, I got my boating license and took it out on the water myself. And I really loved the time on it. Even took it down to Vienna, which is 200 kilometers away from here. So very good experiences, and it can do a lot of things great. But my dad and I figured we should get something new, something now with the experience that we have, with the kind of knowledge that we gained from having the first boat, we can now decide on a second boat, on an improved version of our boat basically. And we got a 5.5 meter center console with a 115 horsepower Mercury engine. Very basic boat, a Quicksilver 555 open, but we really love it for what it does. We had some really weird problems with our rigid inflatable boat. The right-most outermost stern tube, there was air coming out of it. We tried to fix it with some special high-polon glue and with some tools, but we never got to fix it because it was on such a weird spot. It was right on the stern, and you couldn't really fix it. And there was air leaking out of it. Even when you took the boat out on the water yesterday and you come back the next morning, you would find your boat with a little bit of a lagging tubes. You wouldn't see it at first, but when you step on the tube, you would find that kind of air was leaking out during the night. This was happening with the other tubes as well, but not to that extent. A little bit of air leaking from the tubes is normal, so you have to get used to pumping in air every other day or so. So that was kind of annoying, because every time you got onto the boat, the first thing you had to do is use the pump to pump in some air, and this was pretty annoying. Another thing that happened with that boat, kind of the way it was built, there was water ingressing into the boat when you had some people on it. So if you were driving along by yourself, you wouldn't have the problem, but if you would have some people on the boat, you would find the issue that there was actually water ingressing into the boat, especially with 3 or 4 people on board. You would find that problem, and we even figured out the part from where it was leaking from. We tried to fix it with some special high-polon glue again, and then it was leaking from a different part of where the tube joint was made with the actual fiberglass hull of the boat. So this was the problem area. It's just glued together. The boat is basically glued together, and after 10 years or so, stuff like this can happen. And the boat itself was not like a poor quality. It was a Sporties 4500. It was a Polish-made high-polon boat that was used by patrols, police, firemen, public services like that. So we assumed that the quality was top-notch. And other than that, we were really pleased with the boat. How about the boat itself? The boat was really small, so it didn't have a lot of storage space, especially the hull. The hull was just airtight, sealed up. You couldn't get into the hull itself, so there was no storage inside of the hull except the most forward locker, which actually was the only storage. So if you have more than 2 people on the boat, you were lacking storage. And when we did loads of trips on the boat, I went to Vienna once. It was a 4 or 5 day trip. We slept on the boat. It was okay, but it was a little cramped and not very comfortable. So that was a reason as well that we upgraded. We wanted to have something bigger platform. You can fit more stuff on a boat. You will always find yourself not having enough storage. Some things we liked about the boat is the kind of way it handled on the water. It was basically a trimaran, so you have a really stable platform. Even with 4 people, four full-grown adults sitting on one side, that the boat is very stable. Even if you would have water coming over the bow, it would not be a big deal. The boat would float anyways. Even if you would capsize, which is float, you basically get 5 chambers, hull of the boat, plus the 4 tubes. If you were looking for a safe boat that you can go out with in any weather, probably a rigid inflatable boat is your best choice. In that category, in that size, not really a safer boat around, because it's just the redundancy on the boats are really good. You could have 2 tubes leaking air but you can still float around and go back to the marina. That's really, really cool. With the old one, I had a 25-liter removable plastic tank, just like this one. That could, if I need to refuel, just put out of the boat, remove with an easy latch, then drive to the next gas station on land and refuel it from there. Now with that boat, it's a little bit of a different story. First off, it has a 110-liter internal plastic tank that you cannot remove except for maintenance purposes. The second thing is it needs, of course, a lot more fuel. The way you can refuel it, you need to have those kind of removable canisters to refuel the boat with. And also, of course, that boat uses a lot more fuel than the old boat. That boat actually uses about 13.4 liters when going about 30 kilometers an hour. The old boat needed around 5 liters at the same speed. So that's quite a big difference. Another thing was cleaning. The tubes were made of Hypalon. This is a very, very good material. I think one of the top materials in the boating branch. Lifetime span is about 30 years. We had a boat in the water for 6 months straight, so the whole season. And the tubes were sitting low in the water together with the boat as well. And there are other rips as well that would have a very steep V-hull with a big dead rise. And with those boats, the hulls would be sitting out of the water. They would not have any growth on it. But with our boat, the tubes were sitting low in the water, and there was so much growth at the end as we sold it that we couldn't get rid of all the growth. You should think about as well, are you leaving the boat in the water during the whole season? If so, I would either go for a dock platform that you can drive on, so it's a dry dock, or a boat with a deep V-hull where the tubes are lifted out of the water when you're not driving. And there are the big issues with the Rigid Inflatable Boat. It's a really special purpose-built boat actually. Either small tenders, lightweight for people who just want to go from one place to another really quick, or really special operations where you need a lot of redundancy, or just for people who want to drive fast and be quick, safe, and have a lot of fun. For all the other purposes, I would suggest to just buy a normal fiberglass hull. Rips are the safest and the funnest boats to drive around in that category. Just really, really good performance, lightweight boats, lots of fun, more fun than any of the other boats I've driven around. But the amount of space is just very limited, and the complexity, the maintenance is different. So those are just the things that you have to wrap your mind around when thinking about buying either one of those. If you have a rib, or if you have a fiberglass, or any of those two, and you want to share your experience with us, up here you can find the link to my latest video about the boat tour of my current 5.5 meter Quicksilver boat. If you're interested, if you want to see more of that channel, please subscribe. I would love to have more people around. Stay safe on the water. See you in the next one. Bye.